This is real race talk from Texas. It's the Revved Up Sports Show. Here's Bobby Chaffee and Rodney Rodriguez.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the original show, the show that started it all. This is indeed Monday's favorite show, the Revved Up Sports Show. Showtime, Bobby Chaffee, the Iceman, Rodney Rodriguez, coming to you from Round Rock, Texas. It's just north of Round Rock, or just north of Austin. Round Rock is north of Round Rock, but yes, just north of Austin here in the great state of Texas. Yeah, welcoming you out to another show.
How's the weather where you guys are checking in? I mean, what a week. I mean, the whole thing is, with the show, we'll talk about a lot of things, but weather seems to be the one. It's kind of messing us all up, man. Every racetrack that I look at, trying to have a racing program, they're not able to, but the folks up north are. And that's a good thing. So I love that already. Cleveland, Texas, and I know 105. So give me an update there with 105. I was actually checking in with some of the results there, trying to figure out if who won with all of that. I don't know if 105 got everything done, but look like maybe they didn't. I don't know.
Wait, I'm surprised Waco got their stuff in.
Dude, I was kind of watching there with what Waco was doing. And I couldn't believe that all worked out there to where they got everything in, because it was kind of gross up this way, but it all worked out, and there you go. And they'll have a demolition derby coming up this weekend at Waco. So how about that? That's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
A different demolition derby than normal.
Yeah. Not the regular
derby.
Racing program. It's actually going to be a true demo derby like we used to have back in the old days, with Austin and all that. I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be fun. I get to head back over to Waco this weekend, so I'm excited about that. But great show that we have coming up. Matt Gilliam coming up 6:45, 7 o'clock. Brady Garrick, who was the winner there at Heart of Texas Speedway in the Junior Limiteds, and part of that right there, I've had some folks asking, how do the Junior Limiteds get to be on the show? Well, that's one of the things when Joe Spillman came up and had this great idea of doing everything. One of the coups, if you want to call it a coup, is they get to be on this show. So they get to learn how to talk.
That's part of it.
Yeah, really cool thing right there. So
and
Brady,
some of them know how to talk before they get to us.
That's right. So Brady's coming up. Joe Dan Bailey 7:15, and that's gonna be cool because it's time to go to Wilkesboro, and that's where Joe Dan's one of our NASCAR guys that he grew up on that on that side of that. And he knows that really well, and he gets to go home, and he's going to tell some stories. So that's really cool. And then Kyle Cummings is going to be a part of the show as well. So all of that and more coming up right here on this extravaganza that we call hashtag Real Race Talk on your Monday.
Extravaganza. That's good. That's
like
good.
that?
I like that. Big words today.
Yeah. Hey, reminder, guys, join the Revved Up Fantasy Racing League. You can be a part of that. Even though we are a few weeks into this, you can still dive in there and do that. It's totally free, and you can dive in and do that. And you can do that. I think that's really cool and lots of fun to have. Hey, here we go. 6:35. Here is your Revved Up Sports Show hot racing topic of the week. For short track racing, how big is this week at North Wilkesboro? And this is for all of you guys that sit here. You race. You go to the racetrack. You do everything that you do. How big is this for all of us? Because we have big races all around the country, but this is really going to be the time for us to shine, for folks to really understand what short track racing is. You got to understand the last, cup race, I guess, was 1996 over there. And, folks maybe don't understand exactly what short track racing is. We have all sat here and said that Wilkesboro, and we want that thing to be covered in dirt and do all this other stuff. How big is that? How big is the weekend, or how big is this week? Because it starts tomorrow, dude.
Tomorrow night. Super late models.
And a lot of them. How big is this? Your thoughts, Bobby? Is this? It's not going to make or break short track racing, but I mean, this is really a big old deal.
It's going to spotlight a few things. We were talking about it before we even came on the air. There was a post from NASCAR Roots on Facebook that showed the before and after of North Wilkesboro, and it was in horrible, horrible shape. It really was. Trees growing up from inside the racetrack, like through the pavement of the track itself.
Yeah.
All kind of, the buildings were dilapidated. I've seen North Wilkesboro in person. Thought we'd never, ever see another race there unless they demolished the whole thing and completely redid it. Well, they come to find out they haven't demolished the whole thing.
Yeah.
They've knocked down some of the buildings that needed to be knocked down and brought up to code, but for the most part, they've done an outstanding job at meshing with the old schoolness of North Wilkesboro. And I'm not talking from 1996 old school.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the old school feel that was North Wilkesboro back in the 80s and the late 70s and stuff like that. They've definitely embraced that, and they've got some new stuff they put in. The infield is completely done, been redone. Some of the buildings were gutted and redone. So infield looks great. They're going to have to repave it because it hadn't been repaved in like 40-something years.
Yeah.
Since the late 70s. So it definitely is going to need to get a repave. I'm worried that with all the racing action coming up, that the track's going to start coming apart come Sunday when the Cup cars get on there with the biggest grip of the tires and stuff like that. But it, like I said, the last couple of shows, I've never been so happy to be so wrong about not being able to a racetrack, not being able to reopen. Because if you think about it, this is the equivalent of the Astrodome reopening.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is.
I mean, it really is, because you don't see, you very rarely ever see new tracks open, but you very rarely ever see one that gets from the shape it was in to the shape it is now. Like we talked about before we came on the air. Sure, that $100 million from the government helped out a whole hell of a lot. It really did. But it took a lot of people. It took the vision of SMI, Marcus Smith, and Dell Jr. to try to make sure that racetrack was never forgotten, even though it was. And now that $100 million influx in there, and it's great. And who knows what's in store for Rockingham, too.
Well, and I think a big part of this is that they have pulled in, with the Cars Tour and the Pro Lates and the late model stock cars. I mean, all of this. I mean, to be able to get this done and have the All-Star Weekend there. And I think for NASCAR, the biggest thing for me is, I mean, the All-Star Weekend has been lacking in so many different ways. I mean, you and I have seen it firsthand there at TMS, to where it's just, it's boring.
A little lackluster.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, it's not a good thing. But I think that the way that they have gone about doing this and bringing all the local flair into the not local, but the short track part of this into it, and I see so many times where the conversation is, are they going to run Cup races there and all that? I'm not sure that that's what needs to happen at Wilkesboro. I mean, honestly, I don't think it does. These cars are not the Cup cars are not the best conducive cars, to racing on short tracks. They continue to work on that. I mean, but if you can put yourself a good a thing together this week, and I mean, with the Cars Tour, they're going to destroy this. I mean, in a good way, tomorrow and then Wednesday and Thursday with everything that happens there. I mean, to me, you get a Cars Tour thing in there, you get a truck race in there as a headliner. Boom, there you go, and you have so many guys that would double dip and be a part of that. I mean, I think that's where the money is. I would kind of leave Cup out of it, but people want the Cup thing in there, and I don't know if that's the answer.
I don't know if it's the answer either, but I mean, I think it's the it's not so much what they're going to do this year, it's what they're going to do in 2024, because everybody we've talked to and heard, and we talked more about it on the Saturday show, is that the season schedule is completely changing.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the same. You're probably going to see a couple of more street races in certain cities that need to have it, like LA, Denver, Seattle. They may run all the way out to Portland to have a big race out there.
Yep.
But these races, they're going to cap them at 36. So the question is, where do they come from? A lot of these tracks that have double dates, probably going to lose them unless they're really successful. Like Darlington had that place packed yesterday.
Man, that was good.
It was a great race too.
Yeah. And that's where we go back to and we look at this thing. I mean, when it comes down to for the Cup Series, obviously they need to tap into, the Chicagos and LA and Dallas and all these big markets for what they're doing. But that's where the disconnect is right there, because I mean, with Wilkesboro and all these, smaller markets, I mean, I think that's where you can really do some really good stuff. And I don't think that Wilkes is the place to run Cup racing, but simply because, and just because of some of the disconnect is, don't bring the Cup stars in there to race there, because that's not what those folks want to see, but yet they do. And that's where it gets, that slippery slope that we talk about all the time about what is the fine line for them.
I mean, does it come back to me, it depends on if it comes back as a points race next year.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's a whole thing. I mean, that's where, and I don't know, dude. I wouldn't do that. I would not do that. We talk about Bristol Dirt and all that.
That doesn't need to be a point race. That needs to be an exhibition race.
And that's a whole thing. That's where I kind of think that maybe this should as well, or maybe be a truck race, truck headliner with the Cars Tour and all that. I don't know, but I just really think that it's going to be a cool weekend or a cool week of watching all that. So you guys, I mean, how big is this deal? How big is Wilkes? I mean, I know as a old school race fan, it's really big to me to see those cars on the racetrack.
It's going to be cool as long as the race doesn't suck, since the short track package is not actually what it needs to be. But I think that if they can keep the tires from flying off of them and keep the tires from completely wearing out, I think it's going to be a good race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. But I do think that a lot of what the best part of the week is going to be what we see tomorrow and Wednesday. That's going to be maybe some of the cooler stuff.
Wednesday's probably going to be the better race, because the last time they ran super late models there, the race was okay. Granted, it didn't have 52 cars pre-registered, so that's almost Derby quality field that's there at North Wilkesboro for the race tomorrow. I think the late model stock, when it was any indication last year, back in August when they were running out there, that the late model stock cars just put on a hell of a lot better show. The track is more conducive to the late model stock cars there at North Wilkesboro. So it'll be interesting to see this whole week. I know a lot of short track fans. A lot of it's going to be on Flow Racing for the most part. So that's good. Everybody with their Flow Racing stuff is excited and ready to watch it, because I know that there was the disconnect with Racing America having to get an extra pay-per-view, but I guess because everything's on Flow Racing due to the Dell Jr. and the Cars Tour stuff, that it's gonna be all on Flow Racing. So get your subscription ready for that.
Yeah, and I saw something there, talking about repaving. The whole thing is, when you start repaving, you lose character, and that's one of the things. I mean, I think repaving it. That's where we've watched some of the racetracks where you go in there and you do that. You add extra lines and all that, and that's where you get to the nose to tail. And some of that stuff. And I think that's where Pensacola has been great, that they don't repave. I mean, they repave parts of that racetrack.
Yeah, but Pensacola's surface is in a hell of a lot better shape than North Wilkesboro.
Well, but the whole thing is, I mean, when you start getting in there and you start repaving everything, that's been the downfall of a lot of racetracks, to where you do that and you're adding a smooth surface and whatever. I don't know. I mean, Atlanta, we saw that for a while. I know with Mobile, the time that we had at Mobile, with Gulf Coast, I mean, there was never any repaving there. And part of the lure to go race there was that track sucked. I mean, it was bumpy. It was rough. And I don't know. It's going to be curious to see what happens here. But the thing is, with the All-Star weekend coming in to Wilkes, it's going to be where people want to spend money, repave it. And what scares me is you repave it and you change everything that wants to bring people there.
I think that if you change it, you have to keep it the same, with going downhill on the front stretch, going uphill on the back stretch. I think that they can't change that. You cannot lose that much character in with the racetrack for what that they're doing over there. So that's a must, that they must keep it that way to where the character's there if they do a repave for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. But I think the timing is great coming off of Darlington. You have all the excitement there with, kind of keeping it old. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's a really cool thing that we have happening right here with for NASCAR and for all the race fans.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's a good way to come off a very successful throwback weekend from Darlington. Now you're really throwing it back to the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, and then, have a good lead into the 600 for Memorial Day weekend.
Yep, that's right. to the hotline for the first time tonight, and we will continue to talk about that throughout the evening. But let's talk to the man that was a winner at Kennedale Raceway Park. It is our good friend Matt Gilliam. Matt, how we doing, sir?
That's pretty good name pronunciation. I don't get that at too many tracks.
Matt, let me tell you something, sir. I've called a bunch of your races. I've called you Gilliam. I've called you several different things, and somebody actually reached out and said, here's how you say it. So it's trial and error, my man, trial and error. So actually, Bobby here, my co-host, your wife is Gilliam, isn't it?
The H is silent with her.
Ah.
Yeah. H is silent.
All right. So, Matt, talk about the weekend, dude. I mean, you jump in the iStock and go to KRP and punch a ticket there. Had to be pretty cool for you.
Yeah, really. Actually, I was just surprised that we actually got to go to a racetrack this weekend. My car has been in the trailer for 3 weeks now. Just waiting for a race, place to go race a feature. And so we dodged a bullet with the weather at Kendall this weekend, and for us, we were able to get a. Also, it was a good Saturday for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, Matt, let's talk about Kennedale. We had James on last week on the show, just talking about the unique atmosphere that's up there at Kennedale and how the structure's in there. When you win at Kennedale, you win against some of the best in North Texas. And you got to feel good about it. So talk about since you just came off that big win. I mean, is that the same atmosphere that you feel up there when you went up there? You can win anywhere because you're racing against some of the best.
Yeah, there's some very, very good competition at Kennedale, and everybody that races there they've been there for a while. They've got a lot of experience with the racetrack, and so it really is one to hang your hat on if you're able to get a win at Kennedale. And so with the guys that we were standing on the podium with. They pretty much can go about anywhere in Texas and win, and so it feels pretty good, especially to win with that kind of talent in the field.
Yeah, no doubt. So, Matt, talk about that. I mean, for you, to Texas, you mentioned weather, and that's one thing that we talked about. To where the last 2 weeks, it's like, okay, where are you going to race? I mean, to be able to adjust and just go find a place to race, that it's good and bad, but man, to just weather. It kind of sucks these days.
Yeah, that's so prior to Saturday night, the last 2 nights I've been at the racetrack, we've raced a heat race and not raced a feature. So it's you get everything ready to go, and you spend a lot of time getting the race car ready to go each week to then go out there and kind of have a deal like that. And so I'm looking forward to this week. I get to do a little prep on the car, which is the part I really enjoy, is working on the cars. But then also, knowing that we may actually have a chance of racing again. So depending on the weather again, of course.
Nice, love it.
Hey, let's talk about your experience with the different cars. I feel like I've seen you race the iStocks before, or stock cars and stuff like that. Now you're running the sport mod types of stuff. Talk about some of the background that you've had in a couple of these different IMCA classes.
I think I may have lost you guys there for a second.
Nope.
Oh,
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can now. We were just talking about some of your background with some of the different cars and stuff that you raced.
Yeah, I started racing in 1995, and I started in a class that was called they called them hobby stocks, but there was basically 2 rules. It had to be an automatic, and it had to have four doors. And from there, kind of, as I graduated college and got going on my career, we then could afford some better equipment, and so we started in an IMCA stock car, I think, in 2004, and then actually brought that car down to Texas with us when I originally moved to Houston, and we raced in that class for another 10 years until 2015. When I then got a modified and raced that for a few years.
Yeah. No, and Matt, talking about there with your name, I mean, the times that I've butchered your name, it's been in the sport mods, when you've been out at Waco, whatever the case may have been. Talk about now with everything. I love the IMCA stock cars. To me, that is the one that if I had a race car, that's what I would have. Talk about just kind of how that has progressed, with and even with the sport mod, and now the factory stocks, all that. There are so many different avenues there for guys and ladies to get out there and race.
Well, I think in Texas it's kind of generational, and I mean that from a kind of a timing standpoint. Is when I first moved down here to Texas, you had guys like Sester and Pritchett and Turner and some really Travis Evans, and those guys they really had a heck of a class down here. But then the rules changed and the package changed a little bit, and we ended up going to a really small carburetor, and so that's kind of that next generation came in where, it was Keith White and Dwayne Pritchett kept going, and Turner kept going, and then Jason Batten and I and Kirk Martin kind of started rolling, and we traveled about everywhere for a number of those years until we got this newest package that came out, and I think in 2012.
Right.
And it's really been pretty similar for about the last 11 years, where we've got a good carburetor, we've got a low compression, reliable engine. It's not a crate.
Yeah.
That's saying something. But then, and the cars are virtually unchanged over the course of the whole time. And so we've got a tire that's a real big equalizer.
Yep.
But when you put us all on about 430 horsepower with the same tire and all on the same type of car, it's a really good rules package, and it's made it so we've got some very good talent, and I would kind of call this the third generation, where we've got Shelby Williams and the Abbeys, and and just a number of different drivers that you've got some really good cars down in Waco that could come up here and do very well whenever they choose to travel. And so it's the best part about it is when we have we usually start the year with the stock car tour that's we're fighting weather with that one usually as well.
Yeah.
But you've got guys that come down from Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota. I think we had people here from Oregon this year. And there's just a lot of the cars are all the same wherever you go in the U.S. And the talent is just extremely high wherever you go in the U.S. as well. And so I think those Texas cars, they show up really well at those events when they come down here. But then you've got like Jeffrey Abbey was able to go up to this event so far this year in Marshalltown, and he picked up $5,000 in a win up there against some cars from all over the country.
Mm-hmm. So man, let's talk about the statue or the status of the limited modified class. We've seen it kind of flounder around a little bit because you had some guys that were moving over to factory stock, because that's where all the big money comes from now, with the big money and the big purses and stuff like that. And it seemed like the car counts were down. Cannondale doesn't seem to have too big of a problem with car counts, but you go to a couple of different racetracks and they struggle with half a dozen to maybe 10 to get that many. So what's the status? What's the state of the sport mod right now?
Well, so most of my experience comes from the mod ranks.
Yeah.
But I would say this is I think you've got on Friday nights that they have an excellent fan count down there, and obviously that's going to come from really good car counts, very good fan base there. So, you've got Boyd up.
Oh man, he's fading. Damn it.
Raven is getting good.
Yeah. Let's see here. Hopefully we keep him on.
It's a little different here in Texas.
Yeah.
Where we just don't have the opportunity to race 4 or 5 times a week.
That's right.
And so I think Cannondale can take advantage of that week. And it's in DFW, where I don't know, there's 7 million people here.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a good. So they put together the racetrack. It's got a good surface on Saturdays, and so people take advantage of that. And unfortunately, I think with traffic and kid activities and all that stuff, nowadays it's difficult to do that for Friday night racetracks.
Yeah. Friday is tough, but we got some great Friday tracks, like you said, that do a good job. Matt, so what all for the year, man? You kind of bounce back and forth there every time you show up. You're at the front of the pack. What all for the balance of this season?
Well, we're going to finish the year with our stock car. Modified stuff about a year ago, and so I just have the one car now, and so we've got another power plant on the way, and so we're gonna race as much as we can with the current car that we've got, and then probably towards the end of this year we'll end up ordering a new chassis to get ready for either some of the big shows at the end of this year or prepare for next year. But I've been like I said, I've been racing since '95, and so it was nothing for me to get excited about racing 2 or 3 times a week and going out or in some cases racing 2 cars a night. And I think now I've got a son who's going to turn 5 here in a few weeks, and I'm not as geeked up to go to the racetrack as I once was. But after you do that a few thousand times, I guess the novelty kind of wears off after a while. But we're very, very content in the stock car class. Like you guys said, it's an excellent class. It's got a lot of parity, and anytime you can get a W in that class is saying something.
Yeah, no doubt. Great job this weekend, my man. Thanks for checking in here and being a part of the program, and keep doing it, dude. Looking forward to the rest of the year for you, man.
Appreciate it, you guys. The Dallas Stars are playing here in about 10 minutes.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Catch some playoff here in a minute. Game 7.
They're going to lose to the Golden Knights anyway in the West Conference Finals, so it doesn't matter who wins tonight.
It's all good. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, there he goes. Matt Gilliam, always a contender. And I know from the time when he would jump in there, with the sport mods, I mean, always so good. And I love the conversation right there where he is. Honestly, I mean, seriously, I mean, the stock car is the place to be. I mean, I don't want to discount a sport mod, a limited modified, a modified, whatever. But I mean, that is where you can do some really cool stuff, I think.
Well, definitely the class is evolved. He was right when you talk about a generational kind of a deal. That's a unique way to think about it and to describe it. But definitely over the years, you've seen it's kind of like we talked about with the sport mod. You've seen it sometimes go a little lower, sometimes go a little higher with car count. Kind of goes with the flow of racing where like we said, the one thing you don't really see of is a lot of guys that are leaving the stock cars for the factory stocks.
Yep.
You see them leaving the sport mods or limited mods for the factory stocks, but you really don't see them leaving the stock cars. In fact, you see some of the factory stock guys moving to the stock cars. So that definitely shows you the way that they put on outstanding races everywhere you go, and it's a pretty good car count wherever you go, and it's always competitive. So.
Yeah, yep, no doubt. Great conversation right there. Matt Gilliam headed over to the TV, to check out all the good stuff right there. All right, back to the hotline, back to back, and now we go to, and this has been one of the coolest things that we've done here on Revved Up is we kind of partnered up there with Heart of Texas, and Joe Spillman has done such a great job, and everyone at Heart of Texas Speedway with the limited modifieds junior limiteds. Get these kids out there racing, get them on the racetrack, and let's put them on the program here when they get out and start winning. And I'm excited here. I've watched this kid race a couple of times out there, and he 2 Victory Lane, 2 O'Reilly Auto Parts Victory Lane at Heart of Texas Speedway. It is Brady Garrick, first time on the Revved Up Sports Show. Brady, how we doing, buddy?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well, buddy. So take us through it, man. How cool was it to win that race and win at Heart of Texas? Always a cool thing to win at that place.
Like I said, I didn't know where I was. I really didn't know where I was. I got up on top of the car. It felt like a different scenery.
Oh, love it. I love it.
So obviously we've been there. We've all had our first win and our first taste of that sweet victory. So what was it for you? Like, is there a way, now that it's sunk in for a little bit of time, is there a way that you can describe what you were feeling in that moment?
Yes, sir. There's a little bit of things I wish I could have changed about me being nervous,
Right.
because I could have said a little bit more to my sponsors. But other than that, I felt pretty good.
Yeah.
And
So-
me cheering up a little bit.
Yeah. So Brady, talk about, for you, because so many of you guys there in Waco, guys and ladies in Waco that have jumped in, and this is, to me, the best way to dive into dirt track racing. Talk about the history of your family and how this became a part of your life to jump out there and race in the Stars of Tomorrow, the Junior Limiteds.
It all started when Wyatt Sexton started first racing. Me and my dad used to go to the racetrack and help them a lot. And then 2 years after he started racing, my dad asked me, or he actually surprised me with a car in the shop.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
So Brady, what's a normal weekday for you getting ready for racing? Obviously, this old time racers and stuff, we got superstitions. We like to put on the left sock first or the right sock first, or you got to put on your shoes the right way, or you can't wear green or peanuts. So somebody that's just starting out like you, have you built in any superstitions, or you just a get in the car and go kind of guy?
I usually, me, Jeff, White, and my dad usually don't eat chicken before race day because, yeah, it hasn't ended so well the last couple of years.
Oh man, that's haven't heard that one.
I've heard of the no chicken on race days before. Yeah.
Well, no. Brady, talk about kind of one of the things there, with Joe that's Joe and Heart of Texas and Selby and Mike and everyone that's put this together. Talk about for you guys. Because I love what they have done, because a lot of kids just get out there and race, but they have really done a good job to get you guys out there, just kind of teach you what the flags mean. How to start a race and all that. Talk about some of that training that they have put you guys through.
Yeah, they definitely helped us over the past few years. They definitely helped me a little bit with a lot actually with the practice every year.
Mm-hmm.
And then they actually do a good job helping us with all the, like, what they're doing for me right now with the podcast and the banners and the free tire and all that.
Yeah, no doubt.
So Brady, something else that really stands out with this whole junior limited class that they have in Waco has been the ability to develop not necessarily the next round of talent, which it kind of does, but the ability to develop you guys and kind of have you guys come out of your shell and develop your own personalities before you get into some of the bigger classes. And it seems like you guys are developing followings and different race fans and stuff like that. So how's your interaction been with the race fans? Have you noticed more and more people coming over and trying to get an autograph and trying to talk to you guys after the races are over? Or is it something that you're still building up to? Talk about the fan reaction that you guys have with with this whole junior limited thing.
That's one thing. I love having the meet and greet on the front stretch, because last year I had a lot of people come over there. I think it was one 5-year-old. He was one of my favorite fans, I guess.
Yeah.
He wanted my autograph. He got in the car, and it was a cool experience.
Yeah. So Brady, the whole thing is, talking about, your family there with Heart of Texas, but the thing is with you, you have won at Heart of Texas Speedway. Talk about how big that is right there. Because that's one of the racetracks, that one of the big, destination racetracks. People around the country want to go race there. How big for you to win in Waco and put yourself on that winner's list at that famous racetrack?
I'm still definitely trying to figure it out, because I've won a lot of heat races there, but I haven't managed to yet overcome a victory. And last week was emotional because me and my family always talks about, what if you win? What if you win? What are you going to do? Yeah. And then it happens, and you don't know what to do. You're kind of shocked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Brady, one last thing for you. Now that you're becoming a mini superstar there in the junior limited class, have the girls come knocking on the door a lot for you? And when you get back to school, do they know you're a successful racer at Heart of Texas, or you kind of keep that under the table so that they don't come knock you down during lunch?
Yeah, I kind of keep going to the table. I'm not. I don't really look forward to mess with any girls right now. I like racing how it is.
My man.
There you go.
Smart man.
Good idea.
Smart man. Brady, when you look at this, I mean, looking at some of the folks that have been a part of this class, with the junior limiteds, I like to say the stars of tomorrow. Looking at some of the drivers that are now doing really well in the sport mods and all of that, has to make you pretty excited that you seem to be right on the path right there to be one of the next ones.
Yeah, I always watch Trevor Cogburn
Yep.
because I have a car that he won that championship in that one year.
Yeah.
And I always watch him. I was like, dang, he's on the right rear hard. And then he wins a couple of times. I'm like, that could be me in the next few years. But he was a really good driver.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, and then Caden Betty also.
Yeah, she's done a great
doing
job.
Really good.
Yep. Brady, talk about the folks that help you with this. Always like to kind of showcase that. Especially for you young folks. There's a lot of folks that make this happen for you guys.
I have a lot of people to thank, like my setup people, James Schoenrock and Jeff Sexton, and my dad especially, because I can be a little hard-headed on the race car a lot. And he'll get mad, and then I'll be like, okay. I get what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, no doubt. Totally get that, man. That's part of that. I was a young kid once trying to drive, so I love that, man. Brady, thanks for being a part of this. Congratulations, dude. You're a natural, man. You speak really well. You did a hell of a job here, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Take care.
You too.
You bet. There he goes, Brady Garrick. And what Joe's doing there, part of that is I love the way that he presents that to the drivers. It's like, so if you win, you have to be on that show. It's not like you could be on that show. You have to be on that show to promote the program. I love that. I mean, what a great job right there.
Well, I mean, even if they don't win, they still encourage them to try to get on the show so that they can continue their developmental, not only stuff, because, you realize when you create the drivers is now the drivers and some of these kids in the younger generation are starting to know it's not all just how fast you can be in the car, right? You got to have TikTok now. You got to have a little bit of Twitter following if you want to make it to that next level. Yep. And a lot of these kids are learning that. Well, yeah, they got a couple of TikToks of the race cars and stuff like that. That's kind of cool. They're learning that it's not just, they're different than a generation with us because they didn't have anybody to talk to. We didn't even do interviews, back in the day. Like you just ran around with the checker flag, came out, took your picture with the Miller Lite girl, and then that was it. Right, they didn't have driver trackside interviews like we do now, so they're learning that you got to have kind of the whole package because it's nice when you go up and roll. It doesn't matter the age. When you roll up in victory circle with somebody and they actually know how to talk, that's when it's really easy. Yeah, great stuff. Good job right there, Brady Garrick, as he wins at Waco, and he was our spotlight driver right there. I love that a whole bunch. Hey, you guys stick around because coming up, Wilkesboro is coming up. And we got some memories coming up. We're going to talk to our man, Joe Dan Bailey. But first, stepping away for a moment for a word from our great friends at Generation Race Car.
Hey racers, Phil Whipple here with the Revved Up Sports Show. For the past year, you've heard us talking about our partners over at Generation Race Cars. I'm proud to say they're back again this year, and they're off to a great start. Generation Race Cars, located in Springtown, Texas, continues to offer new chassis body combos all the way to turnkey sport mods and limited modifieds. All cars are built the same as you've seen in Victory Lane with drivers like Alex Hickam, Jeff Shepard, and Dean Abbey. All customers are valued and treated equally, so why not join the winning team? Justin Long is committed to giving giving each and every customer the time they deserve, along with a commitment to bring quality into every build. If you're ready to join the team, give the guys over at Generation Race Cars a call today at 817-528-2947. You put a lot into your racing program, so why not take it to victory lane with Team GRC?
You got me feeling like a firebolt high in the sky, looking like a thunderstorm, boy.
And those guys had a hell of a weekend, it looked like.
They sure did.
Yeah. Way to go, GRC, proud sponsors here of the Revved Up Sports Show. Thanks to Phil Whipple Motorsports Media for everything that he does for us as well.
And
but
happy belated birthday to the big man Phil.
Yeah, man, how about that? But yeah, GRC kicking ass looked like this weekend.
No, they definitely got the program that's the right program to be right now, with the way that the dirt tracks are set up and the way that they found something special in those cars, and they're definitely sharing the wealth with their customers, and that's pretty cool to see. I've known Justin a long time. He takes pride in kicking ass, and that's something that a lot of people just like to do it, but he takes pride when he does it. So,
yep, Bobby, I do want to ask you about something. I saw that one of the racetracks posted something about, and this is something that I've watched from afar for a long time. When you start talking about scooters and golf carts in the pits, I saw a policy now, for a certain racetrack about all that, and folks are getting a little twisted up about that. You got to pay attention at the racetrack, and
there's a reason why they outlaw it, right?
Right. I mean, so many folks. I mean, they're not doing what they should be doing, and then they get pissed off about that. And it's like, come on. I mean, I've driven a race car through the pits in the past, and it's like, what are you doing? I mean, get out of the way. I mean, you're sitting there with your head up your ass, and I'm coming through. Luckily for you, this car has brakes, and I don't know, dude. That one kind of struck me bad when I saw that.
Is it the desensitization? Is that right? That's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know what you're saying.
Well, people are desensitized about, like we get spoiled when we're around race cars all the time, but you notice that now people are on their phones. They walk into the street. They walk into things as they're down on their phones. You see it somewhat in the pits where people being preoccupied on their phone, and they come through and they're oblivious, right?
Yeah.
That's another word I was looking for. Oblivious to just these race cars are moving. These race cars can't stop as fast as they go. So I think that there's got to be a reason why something gets outlawed or something gets done, and then it's not the track's fault. When they raise a lot of hell, when they make the new rule, because somebody had their head up their ass.
And that's where I go back to. I mean, if you look at the consent forms on those things that you sign, I know nobody reads them, but I do. I did. I mean, it says motor pits. It's a motor pits. There are cars and everything happening in there, and people just do not pay attention. And I know some racetracks, they let folks walk around, having a cold beer and all that. And I am hardly the one to bitch about somebody having a cold beer. But the thing is, when you're in those pits and you're in that environment, you need to know what the hell's going on, because your ass is on the line. And here again is where we'll go back to I mean, we get somebody run over in there because they have their head up their ass on a golf cart or a scooter. Who's going to suffer? The track, the racers, obviously the person that gets run over, but that's part of the thing. That is not the place. I have always been. It's not a bad thing to be walking around in the pits. I mean, if you can't walk around in the pits, I mean, get your ass in shape. I mean, I don't know.
The pits aren't that big.
No, they're not. And that's where I know people are reliant, on a golf cart and all these different things. And I'm like, look, I mean, if you have to have that, I mean, maybe that's a lifestyle thing to where you shouldn't have to do that, because I don't know, dude, that frustrates the shit out of me. Sorry. Only way to put it.
Well, I mean, it is frustrating. When you have to have a change like that, because then you have to get a whole new program. The people with the scooters that had them with no problems are pissed off. They got to find another mode of transportation. The people that weren't paying attention probably don't realize they're the reason for the problem.
Yep, that's right. All right, enough of that. We can pick that up. Maybe that should have been the topic of the week.
Nah, nobody responded to the Wilkesboro thing yet. So.
Nobody ever does. Nobody ever responds to the topic of the week.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe we just need a little more interesting topic, maybe.
Well, I mean,
But it doesn't get more interesting in North Wilkesboro this week. The eyes of the racing world will be on North Wilkesboro.
And that's a great point because we go to the hotline, and here we go. One of our best friends of the show, I mean, my man, and I'm having a coffee for him this evening because he's my coffee buddy. Love this guy. I mean, so much insight here with the way that NASCAR is, was, and will be. Let's welcome back to the Revved Up Sports Show, #Real Race Talk, our friend Joe Dan Bailey. Joe Dan, how big is this for NASCAR in your opinion that we're going back, dude? We're going back to Wilkesboro, and that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, sorry about calling in early. I heard y'all say
I'm glad you did.
People with their head up their ass. I thought that was my cue. Hey, Rodney, right now going to Wilkesboro this week. You've heard me talk about Darlington before, and I'm always geeked up on Darlington. But we tested Wilkesboro probably about 6 weeks ago, and that was my first time back actually inside the place. And I'll be honest with you, man, it's hard to sleep right now. It really is.
Dude, I bet.
I have not been this excited. I've not been this excited to get back to a racetrack in a long time. And going and testing and hanging out up there was even just amped it up. It was like snorting a Red Bull or something. You just over the top far as just putting acceleration on it. Cool place. Last year, a friend of mine went up there and ran that late model race. One of the boys that works in the office, he's got a limited stock that runs over in Hickory, and Patrick went up and ran the race up there, and me and him talked about it, and when we did, we talked. Some of the trends were still the same from back in the 90s, and
wow.
I'm really looking forward to going up there and spend a little time at that track. I'm actually think I'm going to go for the Cars Tour Wednesday night. A lot of my friends are running up there in that thing, and that's what racers do, right? They spend their off days going to the racetrack.
That's right.
So, Joe Dan, as somebody that saw North Wilkesboro from its heyday to the way that it used to be, when I say used to be, the last 10 or 15 years, when you see it in person and saw the buildings falling down and the trees growing up with the track and stuff like that, it had to be really cool to see that. I mean, granted, $100 million from the North Carolina state government goes a long way, but that took a lot of vision to get that place into the shape it is right now.
Yeah. The people, the Save the Speedway people, they've been after this dream for a long time. They really have, and it's definitely a lot of vision. The funny part about it is, you talk about when it gets back into shape. The first thing I said when I walked in there, I looked over there, and the main concession stand is still there, and they had a lift that would, late in the later years they had a lift. I think they put it in the early 90s, where you drove your car onto this lift and it took you on top of the concession stand, and it never worked. And I thought to myself, well, maybe 30 years later, this thing will finally work. They got the technology to get it going, because back then it seemed like it always broke down about halfway up. It took forever, but we weren't in the tight TV windows. The track itself, I drove around it, my truck, and the track's not a lot off for the wear than what it was back then. We're on different tires now, different vehicles. The track's you're gonna have a lot of tire fall off. Yeah. 30 laps, it wears down 2 seconds. And that makes a great show. It really does. I think a great race, because in that way it plays into pit strategy a little bit more. Now for the Cup side, they're only going to have they're going to start on set and have 3 land to start the race. So that gives them 1 at each stage, or whatever they call it, break.
Yeah.
And then 1 for the final session. They're running 200 laps. And anyway, let's see, there will be an all-star caution around lap 100. So anyway, with that, it's going to put a little strategy into it. We sat there and watched the Wilforce test up there. Guys out there on a 30-lap run. A car rejoined him out there on fresh tires, and in a matter of, it takes 20 seconds to get around there. So, like in a matter of 10 laps, he had unlapped himself because he was running 2 seconds a lap faster than what the old car was.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's going to be a lot of strategy is going to come into play. It's not going to be one of those things every time the yellow comes out, you're going to be able to dive down pit road.
Yeah, that's right. So, Joe Dan, I mean, we can talk about everything that's going to happen, with the Cars Tour and everything. But for you, I mean, we've talked to you so many times here. You're one of our proudest folks that has achieved the dream and done all of this. Talk about some of your best memories of going to Wilkes. Back in the day when it was just a regular part of the schedule, and I think that's what a lot of the new fans don't realize is we used to go here a couple times a year. Talk about some of the old days there for Wilkesboro that really kind of come to mind for you.
Well, I live in Statesville, North Carolina, which we're about 40 minutes south of Wilkesboro. When I say 40 minutes south, I had a back way out of there where I could take a right. I'd going down this dirt road and cutting through the country over hills, and I end up on another road, and then I run 2-lane down there for a good while, and it ended up putting me back out to Statesville so I could leave after the race. And I was home in 40 minutes, which that was always a cool thing for me personally, because you got to stay in your own bed and that. But in Wilkesboro was kind of the home track because Charlotte just it's too much glitz and glamour. Wilkesboro is what racing's about. But anyway, we had some cool experiences up there. A lot of fun. I drove there one year.
Nice.
And drove my dad's car. And, well, let me rephrase that. I tried to drive my dad's car there one year. Yeah, it works out like that sometimes. No,
That's
it's pretty cool. That was 80, I think it was 88 or 89, and went up there and I had Herb Nab, which was a longtime Junior Johnson crew chief. Herb Nab, was my crew chief up there, and with that, Herb had he had a good setup because that's on the juniors' cars, and anyway, Brandon Baker was up there, Buddy Baker's son, and he was the same age as me, and he was in one of Buddy's nice cars, and I'm in my dad's car, and which was just a car. It wasn't a short track, it wasn't an intermediate, it was what we had. And anyway, it was I remember in practice, a few things I remember. I'm out there, and DW took me around the track before practice.
Wow.
And showed me the line, showed me how to get down into the corner and all that. And anyway, I remember driving, and Daryl was driving the Tide car at that time.
Yeah.
So I come out of 4, and I throttle up hard, and I'm running down the front straightaway. It's a downhill straightaway. And I get down into 1, and here's a 17 tucked down in on me. And he, and I'm like, oh, and I just turtle up because I'm like, this is going to hurt really bad, thinking he's going to run over me. Because I know there's no way I'm driving into the corner as deep as Daryl Waltrip.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I kind of turtle up, and I turn left, hit the brake, turn left, and do everything like what I was supposed to do. And coming off, he motors right on around me and goes on. I'm like, oh, wow, he's a professional. Okay. And then in qualifying, I went out and I ran a 20:31. Remember that number when you're watching qualifying this weekend. I ran a 20:31.
20:31.
Bill Elliott sat on the pole at a 19:81. He was a half a second faster than me. And anyway, so I missed the show. It took a 20:27 to make the show. So 27 to 31, I missed making the race. But it still outran Brandon in his dad's car.
That's right.
And anyway, so we went up there and we tested with the trucks. We went back and the Cup cars tested up there, and then the Wilforce cars tested up there. And I looked at all the lap times afterwards, and I realized none of them still ran fast as I did that day.
Damn.
So I've been giving them a bunch of shit about that. I run 3 tenths faster than you in my dad's old car, so y'all better get on the stick. Yeah,
I love that. That's awesome.
But and then working it. Probably my favorite story of all time up there was my friends, some of my beer drinking friends, they give me crap because they call it a 3-car story. So anyway, my 3-car story from Wilkesboro is we're up there, and I think it's a spring race, an April race, and it gets cold in the North Carolina mountains in April. Yeah. So anyway, Richard decides that Will Lynn and myself, which Will did tires before I did, and then I did the tires up there, are not going to come up to the track on Friday. He's going to get chocolate to do tires. Oh, I shouldn't say chocolate because anonymously. Okay, another flavor that's opposite of vanilla.
There you go.
Anyway,
there you go.
So,
there you go.
Yeah, right.
Or
anyway,
how about Danny?
So,
how about Danny?
Yeah,
Danny.
There you go.
there you go. Yeah.
Anyway, which I hope he gets. I hope he gets well. I heard he's sick, but anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
So we get something like 12 sets of tires on Friday, and back then you ran. First of all, I think only 36 cars made the show at a short track race for the Cup races back then. They didn't run the full 43. But what they did was they qualified 20 or 25 on day one, and then on Saturday morning they'd come back and qualify the rest of the field. So there was 2 rounds of qualifying. So anyway, we missed the show on Friday. I don't know what's going on. Will don't know what's going on. It's not like we had cell phones and all that stuff back then. So all we hear them is they call out the time. We see that Earnhardt's going to be bumped from Wilkesboro. You know, he's not that good of a short track driver anyway.
That's right.
So with that, I'm supposed to go up Saturday morning. So I get up there Saturday morning, and I look at the stack of tires, and every tire has been on the race car. So to find out, every run they put on a fresh set of tires, which is not our normal deal. Matter of fact, after that weekend, they started the rule where you only got 3 sets of tires before the race. So I go in and I tell Richard that morning, I said, hey, I'm going to need to buy some more tires. We've used up all of our tires for qualifying. So we get new tires, and we only get a couple sets. That's all we're going to need that morning. But it's, like I said, it gets cold in the North Carolina mountains. It's 25 degrees out.
Damn.
There's ice out, and it is cold, and we're at the racetrack, you know, and that's part of it.
Yeah.
So we've got to qualify that morning, like about 11 o'clock or something, and know it's going to be on cold tires, old track. So I think it was Richard. I'm not sure who came up with that idea. I'm pretty sure it was Richard. We brought the tires into the hauler. We shut all the doors on the hauler, and I turn on the little salamander heater, salamander heater like it is, and have that fired up and plugged in. And I've got a infrared gun, and I've got the tires stuck up against the salamander heater, and it's blowing in the center part of it. Now, all the fumes and vapors are blowing in there and everything else, and I mean, I'm sweating when it's 25 degrees out.
Yep. And
when I take the gun and the gun gets up to 90 degrees, and I'll take that one from the front and put it to the back, and the next one forward. And I did that for probably about 45 minutes.
Damn.
Finally, Earnhardt come out of the lounge yelling at me, and got out of the hauler because it started smoking him out up in the front. And he left. I think he went over there and got in his rental car, or not rental car, but his car.
Yeah.
And left out there, and we sit there and heated up the tires, and the tires were so hot that it was leaving marks on the cabinets when I would move them because it was tire marks on the cabinet. So anyway, qualifying time, we go out and we bolted on. We go out. There wasn't a lot of people that was going to run again that day because everybody knew it was going to be colder.
Right.
So they were standing on their time from day one. You could option to stand on your day one time. Mm-hmm. So we go out, and Earnhardt sets a new track record that morning because the heat already in the tires, and there was nothing illegal about it. There was nothing that said you couldn't do it. Now, you couldn't have blankets, but there wasn't nothing that said you couldn't warm it up. You know, it's all about the gray areas, right? So anyway, he's starting 26th in the race, and but he's got a new track record starting 26th. So now we went through all these tires, and I come back in, and I tell Richard, I'm like, hey, I got to have tires for the race. And he goes, what about all those tires we used yesterday? Earnhardt looks over at me, and he goes, Joe Dan, I don't care if I got to have my credit card out the window every time I come down pit road. I want stickers. I said, yes, sir. That was all there was to it.
Oh.
I think we went through 22 sets of tires that day. Couldn't tell you where we finished, to be honest with you. But that was a great. It was a fun day, setting new track record and doing all that stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. We did that, and talk about chocolate earlier.
Sure. Yep.
So y'all guys have never met my little brother, but my little brother is a fishing captain down out of Padre Island, Port Aransas, Corpus Christi area. His name's Kirk, and he's a bullshitter. I mean, he'll and not only has he captured Jaws, he skinned him and made a pair of boots out of him and sold it to George Strait. Okay, I mean, this guy will tell a story. So anyway, we're up there getting ready the week before Wilkesboro, and Kirk comes and he stays with me for a week. Like I said, this back in the 90s, and so I'm working. So I tell Kirk, I said, hey, go down and help Chocolate out in the warehouse. Chocolate's out there arranging something, whatever he does. Anyway, and he was doing that, so Kirk goes out to help him. So at the end of the day, Chocolate comes up to me and goes, Joe Dan, and my little brother was born in the early 90s. No, not the early 90s. Excuse me, let's see, I'm gonna say 70s. He's about 7-8 years younger than me. So anyway,
yeah.
No, he's younger than that. Hell, 12 years younger than me. Anyway, I don't know the kid's age. He's a lot younger than I am. And with that, he's out there working with Kirk or with Chocolate, and Chocolate comes up to me at the end of the day, and he goes, Jody, how old's your brother? And I said, he's 17, 18, something like that. And he goes, well, that little shit. And I said, well, why? What did he do to you? And he goes, oh, well, he had me going about this whole thing about when he was in Vietnam and all the stuff he said. So Chocolate told him, he said, when you come in the warehouse, you can come, but you can't talk about anything you see in here because it's all our secret.
That's
and
right.
Kirk told him, well, when I was in Vietnam, I seen stuff I couldn't even tell my mom about. It was hell over there and all this stuff. So anyways, the Chocolate's going to pay him back. And unfortunately, blood's thick, but when you get to play a prank on somebody, it thins out real quick. So Chocolate has him up at Wilkesboro, and Chocolate, and Kirk's trying to help out, and Chocolate tells him, he goes, hey, man, go get a long weight. We need a long weight for the car.
Mm-hmm.
And Kirk goes, a long weight? Well, where'd I get that from? And he goes, oh, go over and ask those boys over there on the 33. So he goes over there, and they tell him, said, yeah, hang right here for a few minutes, and they come back, and they're like, well, we ain't got one, and we ain't got one long enough for you. So they send him all over. Finally, Kirk goes over, and they send him over to the 11, and he goes up to Junior Johnson, not knowing who Junior Johnson is.
Oh, my goodness.
And he goes up to Junior, and he goes, sir, they sent me over here saying y'all have a long wait. Well, Junior not really knowing the prank or anything. He goes, hell, I don't know. Go talk to Brewer or Mike Hill or one of those boys. And they sent him over to the parts truck. So anyway, he spent 2 hours running around for a long wait. Finally, Chocolate went over and told him, he goes, yeah, I think that wait was long enough. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, that's what a long wait is. You've just been sitting there, now you're waiting for a long time.
I love it.
So,
I love that.
Yeah, it's that, and then you had the time up there when I think it was, I can't remember, it was Rudd or Earnhardt spun out Bodine there at the end of the race.
Yep.
And the best part about that was, and I ain't got nothing against Yankees except they're Yankees, and and I mean that in the nicest way. I got a lot of friends of mine. One of my best friends is from up in New York.
Yep.
But anyway, so somebody's in victory lane. I can't remember if it was Earnhardt or Rudd, but all I remember is the Bodine family women. Jeff's wife, Kathy.
Yeah.
Kathy.
That's right.
Yeah. And the two sister-in-laws, and they're outside victory lane, just yelling at them, cussing them like a dog. It was an early version of Bowman Gray over there. You know, they call that the Madhouse.
Mm-hmm.
But this was an early version of that. They were going on and on. The only thing could have been better if A.J. Foyt would have walked in and punched him in the face. Okay. So there's been a lot of cool things that happen up there. A lot of great memories. That was the place I ate my first Carolina hot dog. I didn't know that they put coleslaw on a hot dog until I got that. Yeah, that's the thing up here, chili and coleslaw. Yeah. I had no idea with it.
I've heard that.
Yeah, and they're good actually, and so that's what you got up there at that. That was way before the Martinsville hot dog was famous.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, going back to Wilkesboro this weekend, it's going to be a great show. Like I said, the truck series has an extra set of tires.
Yeah,
we're running. I think we're running. We've got a 70 lap segment, a 140 lap segment, and then 250 at the end. So we got to go 110. We're going to have two sets of tires for the 110, so it's not going to have to split that in half. We're going to be able to put two sets on in that last stage.
Mm-hmm.
The test up there, they left the asphalt, but when they put safer barriers in, they brought the safer barriers off, and they put concrete out away from the wall. Well, at first they didn't have safer barriers on the straightaways.
Mm.
So when one of our drivers got up there, he found grip up on that concrete.
Oh, wow.
So they were running all the way up against the wall, and that was the way to get around there. He was a lot faster than the other cars, and then the other guys seen him do it, and then that took off. And then they came back and decided they're going to put safer barriers up there. So now, even since the test, it's changed the groove. It is going to have a characteristic like IRP, if you ever watched IRP.
Yeah.
If you ever watched one of the keys to that place, and Harvick was the first one to do it in his Busch car, was he would put the left front down below the apron, and it would unload the wedge, so it would help it rotate in the middle of the corner. And Wilkesboro has an apron like that in 3 that'll help the car rotate a little bit more when it gets tight. So I'm thinking that people are going to find that, and running across that apron at about the 2/3 mark is going to be critical. The other thing that's really cool about that, and this goes back to back in the day, was I hate that term, back in the day. It goes back to the old times.
I love that term. I love that term. I love that term.
Yeah, it just gets wore out.
I know.
Anyway.
I know.
Yeah, because back in the day, we didn't make crap. We worked our tail off all the time, and the racing wasn't as good as what it is right now. Now, would I do it all over again? Sign me up. Okay.
Yeah, no shit.
But anyway, so Wilkesboro is very unique because the front straightaway goes downhill and the back straightaway goes uphill. So with that, back in the I'm going to say the late 80s, early 90s, the gear choice up there was either a 567 or a 583. And I might be getting too technical on that, but that's a huge difference in gear for up there. So the 567 was a better long run gear when your tires wore out.
Right.
But that 83 would really take off well. Well, the thing about it was we ran the bias plies when we were up there, and with the bias plies, when you come off of turn 4, there's like a slight hump as you're going straight out towards the wall, as it transitions to downhill, because the corner is pretty flat, but then the going downhill, so you run over this hump, and if you throttle up too hard, it pisses off the right rear. It takes about 5 laps to get that right rear back underneath you.
Right.
So that was one thing you always had to worry about. So I was talking to Patrick, the guy that ran the late model race up there last year, and I said, can you still make the right rear mat off of 4? And he goes, yes. And it blew my mind, because I'm sitting there running, I think I'm conserving my stuff, and I start to go, and about the time I spin the right rear off of 4, and it took 5 laps to get underneath me. And I'm like, there you go.
There it is.
So, you still have that. And that was, I remember, you remember Dave Marcus?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
how can you forget that guy? The boots.
Right.
I mean, the boots.
The king of the buffet at the Thunderbird.
There it is.
And they're in Darlington, but also, you know, Dave Marcus was harder to pass than a kidney stone.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Yeah. He was tough.
Yeah.
And anyway, he lost a cylinder up at Wilkesboro. And, you know, and the tires always fell off pretty heavy up there. So when he lost he had gas, he'd put gas in, caution come out, everybody got tires. And then another caution come out after that. And Marcus stayed out when everybody else pitted. So he ended up inheriting the front of the front row.
Right.
And he was down a cylinder. So it almost made it like throttle control because he couldn't gas up hard.
Right.
And I think he led like 60 or 70 laps one year up there down a cylinder because he was able to keep his foot in it and roll the center and throttle back up with the cylinder down.
Right.
You know, and that was it. It was the best engine tune you could do up there was disconnect the secondaries. Always, yeah. I always said that you know it's like you need a tire guy at Talladega the same way you need an engine guy at Wilkesboro.
I bet. Yeah.
The best thing you can do is leave both of them at home because at Talladega you're going to run 500 miles on a set, and at Wilkesboro you want the worst torque engine you got because you can sit there and just stay out front with it. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how the characteristic is now, how the bias ply tire reacts up there.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah. I think the tire is going to be the biggest thing, you know, with all that, you know, with that worn out thing, you know, racetrack and all that, the character. Joe Dan, lastly, I mean, for you through all of your travels and everything that you've done, how cool to get to go back there and be a part of this. I mean, that has to be for you. You know, you've had a hell of a career and it just keeps going. How big for you to go back there and be a part of this?
Rodney, this is, I mean, in all reality, this is huge for me. My bosses, Andy Graves, come out last week and told me, he's like, you know, we need to wear the shirts because he worked for Gordon's when I worked at Earnhardt's and then later at Penske and you know, he said we ought to wear our shirts that we last wore up there. I'm trying to work a deal right now and where the Toyota teams on Saturday are going to have the old school signboard out there on pit road,
dude,
where the guy's holding it up. It's very nostalgic for me. Wilkesboro just represents just about everything in North Carolina for me.
Yep.
You know, my wife, my family, this is where it's at. This is home. I love Texas and I love Houston. I love Pearland, but this has been home for me for a long time. And to be able to go back up there and race, is, an incredible feeling. You can't believe how proud and how excited I am about going back and doing this. And you know, I mean, Dale Jr. has just been the guiding stone on this. And, you know, what he asked for, he gets, and this has happened. And I do feel like this is going to end up being a points race in the future. I don't know about for everybody. I don't know how that's going to play out, but I feel that way, and I think it will be, and I think it's right that it's going to happen that way. And it's I don't think you're going to have bad reviews coming out of here. I think everybody's going to love it. I really do.
Yeah.
The group up there has really worked hard on the logistics of getting people in and out. Parking was always a nightmare. That's one of the reasons why that place failed. They didn't have room for parking, and they couldn't put more grandstands in to pay the TV deal with it, you know. But for me to go back up there, I am I'm tore up over it. Dude, I really am.
Yeah, I bet.
If we were going up tomorrow, it wouldn't be too soon.
Oh,
so one last question before we cut you loose. What's the bigger deal for NASCAR? Going back to Wilkesboro or moving the Southern 500 back to Labor Day weekend?
Southern 500 to Labor Day weekend. Sorry. That's huge. That's the big race there. I think that was a shame to ever to leave it.
Yep. Yep.
With that being said, I'm glad it's back. But and y'all heard me say it many times. I love Darlington.
Yep.
Southern 500. I've never won a Southern 500 as a pit crew member, and I never won a Wilkesboro race as a pit crew member. So, those are both two that Wilkesboro's a track that I've never been to Victory Lane at. I've done it and been to Victory Lane at Darlington. So there's a lot there. I think our boys in the trucks, Corey Heim, Taylor and Tanner Gray is going to do good. Stuart Friesen's been running well.
Yep.
I think we've got a lot in the bag for him, but man, I can't wait to get there.
Oh man.
I wish we could have done this sooner as far as going back there, but I'm glad it's happening.
Yeah, me too. And I'm happy for you, my man. So excited that you guys get to go back and just all of your everything you've done and again, I mean, your friendship and everything that you've been to this show. JD, thanks for taking the time and being a part of this. Man, I'm so excited. You guys go have fun this weekend. I mean, live it up. I mean, that's whatever happens on the track is going to happen. But man, just go soak this thing up, dude. I'm so happy for you.
Well, I hope you can tell the passion in my voice.
Oh, dude, I know.
With it, and I'm going to come over to the media center. Y'all guys aren't there. It's y'all, man. Y'all are missing out.
I know. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, we have nothing, JD.
Yeah,
all right, man. Take care. Let's stay in touch. Keep me posted throughout the week and weekend, my friend. Thanks for jumping on here.
All right. I'll talk to y'all guys later.
You bet, man. Take
care.
You bet. You bet.
Bye.
There he goes. Dude. I'm like in tears listening to him talking about this.
I mean, he's excited about it, and he should be.
He should be. I mean,
it's badass to be going back to North Wilkesboro.
I mean, for that, for NASCAR fans, I mean, all the folks that want to be pissed and everything at NASCAR, this is the NASCAR week, not just the weekend, to indulge. And it starts tomorrow. I mean, because we got late model racing, all of that happening. I mean, that's like
everybody's
legit.
forgetting about tomorrow, right? The super late model race
right?
is tomorrow. That's going to be a hell of a show. The show, I think the trucks are going to steal the show. As much as that Cars Tour race is going to be good, the 125 lapper, the Window World one, that one, I think the trucks run the chance at actually stealing the show with as close as some of those trucks are going to be. I think that's going to be the show stealer right there.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun week of racing, and that's a whole thing there to where it all comes full circle. I just like that we have local. I mean, not local, but short track racing and all of that. I mean, it kind of all ties into what's going on there. But let's go to the hotline for the last time tonight, and we go back to Winner's Circle. This dude, a winner again. Welcome back, my man, Kyle Cummins. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Doing well, my friend. Doing well. Everything good? It sounds like you had a full evening there. Thanks for jumping on there. It looks like you had something going on this evening.
Yeah, we had a little sports banquet for my son there, and
I love
we
that.
broke loose from it. Make time for you guys.
I love it, man. I love it.
So, Kyle, talk about the weekend, man. Obviously, another win in the books is good, but it seemed like it was just hooked up and was just ready to rock and roll all weekend long.
Yeah, so, man, they had a pretty stout field there, 60 cars, I think it was.
Damn.
And, this race had been pushed off already once this year, and that the new owners there at Boot Hill, Bubba Jones and Rilo, they worked real hard to get this race in. We had a little shower there Saturday night, and we're still able to get the show in. I actually think the rain helped the track some, made it a little bit wider and a little racier. I mean, I think we had some guys come from like 19th to 4th. I mean, it was a good racetrack, and
yeah,
it was a pretty good show.
Yeah. So talk about those folks there at Boot Hill. I mean, we talk about it here all the time, to where the track operator, it's like, are we going to race? The weather kind of tends to mess all the shit up for us. But They held their boots in there right there. Put a show in for you guys. I mean that's a tough job right there. But Boot Hill always doing a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, they were just recently purchased by these new guys, and that's I talked to them after the race the other night. Just told them how thankful I was for them to be able to work their tail off to get that show in, and it happened a couple of weeks ago. Same type deal. It rained, and they got out there and worked their tails off to make sure we got that show in. And around here, it's just that time of year. You blink and the weather changes for us. You never know if it's going to rain or if it's not. And for them to really try hard to get all these races in, we can't say enough about a track owner, a track promoter, whoever it is. For our sport, we got to have them. And you don't want that part to slow down.
That's for damn sure.
So, Kyle, talk about the uniqueness about getting around Boot Hill. When you watch it on TV, you see guys have a couple of different arches in the corner, or they kind of dime in the corner. A couple of guys do. You have kind of a unique line around there. Is there more than one way to get around there fast, or is there just a specific line that I'm not seeing when I'm watching the racing from Boot Hill on TV?
Oh, man, if you watched that race the other night, you had Corey Neal there was right behind me and stayed up there beating the cushion down the whole time. And, man, he was good at it. He's a good little driver, and I told the guys before the race started, I said, I think that's going to be my competition, and sure enough it was. I could hear his motor over mine. He had that thing screaming up top. But, we've got a tire change this year. This class is on a different tire, and, you're just able to hunt the brown, hunt the tacky a whole lot better. And when you hit that slick where we used to run the pull-offs, you kind of lose it with those tires. So you really got to concentrate on hunting the brown. And I've cut my teeth doing that. My dad taught me that way, and just slow and stay on that bottom as good as you can, or get up high, because you've got to be able to hunt that brown and get a little bit more traction.
Yeah, no doubt. Kyle, talk about that part. We've talked about it here for so many, different weeks. The tire change. I mean, I know that's something there, with the class, to where it's like, okay, the class is doing whatever. But when you start doing the tire thing and all of that, I mean, that really does change the whole landscape of everything that you guys are doing right now.
Man, look, me and my car owner, Chad Callender, we discussed this over years, and these pull-offs versus other tires, and, it just so happened that they, just up and changed the rule over the winter here.
Yeah.
I was for it, as a car owner and somebody that's purchasing the tires, they may not be for it because they're a lot more expensive than what you could get those pull-offs from.
Yeah.
But I can remember as a late model driver going to a track when they started this class.
Yeah.
And seeing the other classes on these pull-offs, and that breeds a whole nother series of questions here. The pull-off sealing a racetrack up, and I've seen it time and time again to where I don't care how hard the guy works on that track.
Right.
You put slick tires on it, it's gonna seal it up.
Yeah.
Especially if you have 60+ cars on all those tires and 2 or 3 classes on those tires. For instance, the other night they got a Pro Mod class there at Boot Hill, and that was the only class there on the pull-offs.
Yeah.
And you could literally watch the track change as they were on the track. And I look, some people are for it, some people are against it. I just enjoy racing. I don't care what tires are on it.
Yep.
But I feel like these tires have provided for a better racetracks that we've been to so far this year, and for better racing. So some people may not want to see it, or they may not agree with it. It don't really matter to me. I enjoy it. I think we've raced 7 times this year and won 6 of them. Should have won 7. We broke lead in the 7th one. So I mean, I'm enjoying it. I enjoy the change, which I was used to running those tires on modifieds years ago. But
that's right.
A lot of these guys don't understand tire maintenance and tire prep, like as far as, keeping them clean and keeping them grooved and keeping them buffed, keeping them out of the sun. Guy told me one time, I don't care how much you put into your car, there's not but one thing that puts it to the track, and that's that tire.
That's right.
So you've got to take care of it.
Yeah. Man, I love that.
So the rule change there was a boatload of cars there, so the rule change can't be hurting it that much. I mean, you still come down to South Texas, and you're still getting a good field of cars running the pull-offs. But I mean, up there, you had Johnny Torres up there trying to run who's a big superstar down here, and it just seems like the tire deal just doesn't seem to be a deterrent to keep cars from coming up to Boot Hill. I don't know if it's just the way of the class and there's more cars up there, or is it just the allure of Boot Hill? But I mean, 60 cars, that's a hell of a lot of cars anywhere.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but I think it did hurt it some. I mean, you just got so many tracks still over towards y'all's way and everything in Texas, and their rules are the pull off, so they're not going to turn around and buy $160, $170 tire, whatever it is, to come just race with us one weekend. Where I feel like maybe last year if we'd have had this race, you may have had 80 cars. You know, and the King of the Hill race that we have, you're pulling 80. I think the first year we run it, which was 2 years ago, I think we had 110 cars.
Yeah.
So it's probably hurting it a little bit, but I mean, I don't know. If big race come up, I wouldn't mind getting some pull-offs and coming to race over there. It's no different. We like to race.
Yeah. Kyle, is this one of the things to where, we talk about with these cars, where it's like, folks want to race this class, and I know with the pull-offs, it makes it easier, but is this something to where maybe it's going to level it off a little bit to where guys, stay with the sport mod or stay with the modified? I mean, is this something that may deter guys from jumping into this class? I mean, that may be thinking about jumping into this class.
I don't know. Like I said, I come from late model racing and modified racing and stuff like that, where we always had that. Where my car owner, Chad, he kind of, this is his class. This is what he grew up fooling with since they had pull-offs. And oh man, I don't know. I think it could deter some. There's the potential there to open up another class. They've got a Sportster class going right now. That they I don't know. If a guy's a race car driver and he's kind of wanting to cut back, it'll look kind of like I was. I wanted to kind of slow down racing a little bit, and I wouldn't mind jumping into this class because I feel like I'd be used to more of a groove tire. Yeah. Versus before, and two, man, them pull-offs are a pain in the butt to mount and unmount.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, that looks like a real pain in the ass.
You put on an 8-inch wheel.
Yeah, I know. That looks horrible. That looks horrible to do. Yeah.
So, any thoughts about getting back into the big cars? I mean, you talk about feeling it out with these cars, with the late model experience and the mod experience you got. I mean, any thought about going back, or you just this is where the heart and the budget's at for you right now?
A little bit of both there. I enjoy it. We've had a blast. I've raced from all over the nation, racing with late model stuff, and as far as this crew that I've got, I would put them up against any crew I've ever had. They enjoy this so much. I've got a bunch of kids that get involved, and you see that picture right there. Like we're look how they're all there. Most of them are all there just to help me. We enjoy it. It's a big family deal, and it's the best crew I've ever had for sure. Yeah. But as far as moving to a different class or whatever else, I would love to. Yeah. If the funds were there, a couple weeks, Donnie Powers, the owner of Arctic, he's going to let me run one of his mods. They're having the Doug Murphy Memorial race coming up, and I've tried to support that family. And all the years that they've had that race, I think it used to be a modified and late model version of it. We won the late model side of it one year, and so I hit him up, and he says, "Sure, I got one for you. Just we'll have it ready." So. Yeah. So I'm interested to see how that turns out. Mr. Donnie's got some nice stuff, and get some practice laps in. I think we'll fall right into place. Yeah.
And Kyle, I love what you said right there, dude. Isn't that the thing? I think people forget we do this for fun. I mean, we, it gets way serious. I mean, I know, behind the wheel and a car owner or whatever, but man, we do this shit for a good time. We want to entertain the fans. We want people to love what we do. Isn't that something that gets forgotten? I mean, this is for fun. We race for fun, and man, I think that's something that I love what you said there. We need to come back to that from time to time.
Yeah, 100% of the time. That when I was racing late models full time, we traveled every weekend. Might have had one or two guys that would go with us, and my family might not be able to go that weekend. We would be off racing. Well, with this deal, basically within 3 hours of the house.
Love it.
Maybe 4 tops we're racing for big money every weekend. Well,
Yeah.
Most of them are able to go, and man, it makes a night and day difference of having all those people there and all the support from everybody. Because you may get phone calls or text messages when you're out of town racing, but these people they live and breathe it. I've got phone calls left and right since Saturday. Just people talking about how good of a race it was, and man, they ought to put a bounty on you, and this and that, and I could go win a 5,000 win late model show tomorrow somewhere, and yes, I would be excited. But the emotion that comes along with having that many people and having that group of people that, man, they just love it, and it's a whole different category. It's a whole different ball game, late model group crowd, you've got some really good racers there that you can depend on racing. Then you go to these factory stocks deal, and really and honestly, if I'm just being honest, you got 60 cars there.
Yeah. You've
got 10 or 15 that could win it.
Mm-hmm.
Where late model show, you go there, and the majority of that field, any of them could win it.
Yeah.
So that's, you lose a little bit of that, and you lose a little bit because it is a factory stock. People kind of lose track of. I talked to, who was that I was talking to? I went down to 105 at the first of the year.
Yeah.
And traveled down there, and there was a guy there I hadn't seen since early 2000s. His name's Ron Skinner.
Oh,
Takes photos down at that track. You know Ron?
Oh, I do. Yep, I know Ron.
Oh, gosh. I got down there, and me and Ron got to talking about old times. He's taking pictures of my dad racing. I wanted to see Howard Willis down there, but I couldn't run into him. I wanted to go call him out. Me and Howard used to race a lot together, but apparently he had surgery, and that's the one time he hadn't been to the races this year. But
wow. Yeah.
That was a fun trip. But, as far as this camaraderie of everything that's going on, it's truly a blast and a blessing,
Yeah. I love it, dude. Way to go this weekend. Thanks for jumping on with us. And, dude, I love what you do. Just keep doing it, man. You are one of the guys that we talk to on the show, and it's why we do it. I mean, we do this because we love it, and man, love talking to you every time, man.
Yeah, for sure, and I appreciate you guys.
You got it, Kyle. Thanks for taking the time. Be well, my friend.
All right, see you later.
You bet. There he goes, Kyle Cummings. Don't you love those conversations? I mean, oh man, I tell you, that's what it's all about. That's what it is all about, right there.
Well, I mean, obviously he's got the experience in multiple classes, and I think the ability, he hit it right on the head where he's talking about, yes, he can win a late model race and get a phone and a text and all that, but that doesn't compare to, like you said, the look of, I don't want to, ecstasy might not be the too big of a word, but they're all super duper excited to be in victory lane after a really good race at Boot Hill. They're all smiling, they're all happy. I mean,
you're too happy.
I don't know. I can't think of a better word.
I get that, but like what he's talking about right there. I mean, I love that he was kind of watching right there. I mean, look at that picture. I mean, you think back to the old days. I remember when I won my first race at Longhorn. We had all these kids in the picture and all these people right there, just being a part of it, just being a part of the sport, and that's cool to see right there. That you have these folks that just want to enjoy what you do. And I think that, man, we got to dial this thing back. And that's been the cool part for me about, talking to Brady Garrick and all the kids here with the Junior Limiteds. Man, let's pull this thing back and make it back to what it's really all about.
I think you have to. I mean, obviously,
absolutely.
The track has to run like a business to continue to make money and to stay in business, right? But the track owners they're not in it because they want to make money.
Right.
They're in it because they love it. They live it. They love it. Right. It's the same thing with race car drivers. You're in it because you live it and you love it. Same thing. We're into it. We live it. We love it. We're staying around it, trying to keep it alive. That's what everybody's trying to do. Everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction. Sure, you got some keyboard warriors that are bound to screw it up for somebody. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think for the most part, hit it on the head that it's all about having fun. It's all about having fun with your family, whether that be your direct family or your racing family. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think something that you say right there, Bobby, I think it's so important. I mean, for the racetracks themselves, for the promoters, operators, whatever. Yes, obviously they want to make a little bit of coin if they can, but they're not doing it. I mean, if you're doing this year after year, like so many of these folks are, you're not doing this because you're going to retire. I mean, you're doing this for the love of it. You do want to make some money. I mean, you do want to make some money.
Everybody wants to make money. Track wants to make money. Hell, racers want to make a little bit of money.
Sure, and that's where we go back to, you know, a lot of the
staff wants to make a little money.
And that's where we go back to, you know, with the streaming thing, you know, with the Race On, you know, giving money back and all of that. Money is hard to find. I mean, it's like you have this very thin line of it. It's like you have this much money and you have to like just sit here and, okay, here's this, here's the purse, here's paying the employees, here's, you know, all of this. You're just tearing this stuff up. And how much money do you have? What a great prop right there.
That is a good prop.
Yeah, and it's a lot of little pieces is what it comes down to, and you know, people are doing a really good job with this, and I do for the racetracks. I mean, this weekend my heart was breaking for all the cancellations that I kept seeing, and it's not the first time, because every time that you know a promoter has to cancel something, it's like, okay,
the bills don't stop.
There's all that money. Here's all these pieces. Here's all these pieces that I didn't have in place yet. All these pieces that I didn't have this one piece. And here we go. So, you know, really good stuff right there. I love what he was talking about. Really good stuff. Kyle Cummings, my man.
And that was a hell of a race. If you have your Race on Texas subscription, go back and watch that race from Boot Hill. That was a hell of a race. That was a really good show. Very, very entertaining race.
Yep. All access. Check that out. That's available right there for you 24/7. 365. How about this week, dude? Wilkes, if you're a race fan, this is what it's all about. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. You got a tremendous race tomorrow, a really good race on Wednesday, and then you get to the NASCAR stuff and the NASCAR stuff. To me, you know, I'm going to watch all of that, but to me, the NASCAR stuff is you know, kind of secondary, because tomorrow's the good show.
Well, tomorrow or Wednesday, depends on whether or not you're a super fan or a late model stock car fan. But the late models are going to put on a show. I think the pro late models run a chance of having a pretty good, decent show too. Big heavy hitters tomorrow night in the ASA race, the ASA Stars race. Obviously, the normal heavy hitters in the Cars Tour race. But I think there's going to be a couple of standouts in that pro late model race that's going to make that race a little bit of fun on Thursday or Wednesday.
Yep. Look who's checking in. Our good friend from Florida, Jennifer Brinson. My lady Jen checking in. And look at her, fresh off of her show, jumping on to watch us. Really cool stuff right there.
Yeah.
Does that mean that's a diehard.
Does that mean we're running over?
Yeah, we're running over.
Oh,
and she had breaking news too, so really good stuff there from those folks. So, yeah, we got to get out of here. We ran late. What a great show! I mean, Matt Gilliam there checking in with that. Got his name right.
That's good.
Yeah, Brady Garrett. Stars of tomorrow, dude.
Stars of tomorrow. The next big things.
Good talker. Joe Dan Bailey talking about Wilkesboro. We'll podcast all of this stuff because JD's stuff is really good.
Yeah, his stories are great, and his insights even better.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, Kyle Cummings. Great program tonight. Thank you all for being a part of this. We'll have everything podcast. We'll do it again next Monday as we'll break down all the Wilkesboro, everything. This is fun.
Yeah, it's been a good show.
Good time to be a race fan.
Next week.
You betcha. RevvedUpSportsShow.com. We'd love to have you next Monday.
Yeah, catch us on Saturday on the Horn.
That's right. HornFM.com. If you're not in Austin on the radio, all the podcasts here at RevvedUpSportsShow.com. You guys be good. Hashtag Real Race Talk. We're back next weekend. Or next week. Weekend for the Monday show.